This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality.
The term gay marriage will soon be a thing of the past. From this day forward, it will simply be marriage.
We've been married all these years.
I don't agree with the way it's been done.
I pronounce you wife and wife.
They ruled on the right side of history.
We will have to continue to fight to live this ruling.
History today celebrated on the steps of the Supreme Court, as you saw. This after the 5-4 ruling that made same-sex marriage legal across the nation.
But while marriage equality is now the law of the land, the legal battles may not be over. We have team coverage of the ruling today for you right here.
And Breanne Carter has a reaction in a moment. But first, senior political reporter Scott Thuman is at the Supreme Court to explain today's ruling. Scott?
Maureen, Leon, I was in the court earlier this summer when we heard those oral arguments, and the justices even gave the attorneys extra time to argue their cases. That's a rarity, but they knew how significant this was. 390,000 legally married gay couples in this country. You can imagine now that number going to grow quickly.
Love conquers hate! Love conquers hate!
The celebration on the Supreme Court steps for some was decades in waiting. Plaintiff Jim Obergefell, who crossed state lines to marry his partner, got a presidential phone call immediately following the 5-4 decision.
I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
Jim, last thing you talked to the president, talk about that.
I wish I could remember exactly what we talked about, other than he thanked me for being brave and being out here and being part of the fight.
But even he says there's more fighting to be done. For example, can a wedding photographer or baker who refuses to do business with a gay couple because it's against their personal or religious beliefs be sued?
The bottom line is the government shouldn't be forcing anyone, regardless of your belief on marriage, to use artistic talents to participate in a ceremony with which your faith just conflicts with. That's not American.
They should be very proud. America should be very proud.
The president believed the justices had to reflect a more accepting public, and that measure of equality could no longer be denied.
Even 5 or 10 years ago, that was unthinkable. But this is an example of how public attitudes can fundamentally change, fundamentally shift. The Supreme Court was not simply narrowly reading law, but was also reading the overwhelming public sentiment.
And within hours of this ruling, some of those states that had bans began issuing licenses. Of course, technically, the losing side is afforded a couple of weeks here to ask the court to reconsider, although very few think that's even a possibility. Live at the Supreme Court tonight, Scott Thuman, ABC 7 News.
All right, thank you, Scott. Moments after today's ruling, a spontaneous outburst of singing outside the Supreme Court. See the last strains of the national anthem. That's just one of the ways that people celebrated today outside. Breanne Carter now continues our team coverage with a look and a listen to how people on both sides of the issue are reacting.
Proudly waving flags and banners.
Build a beautiful city, yes we can.
Or singing and rejoicing. Hundreds filled the sidewalk and street outside the Supreme Court this morning.
I mean, the feeling was very intense, good vibes. Everybody was happy.
D.C. residents Jorge Amaro and Stephen Olivares have been together 3 years, and before today, they wouldn't have been able to get married in Stephen's home state of Texas.
We're very happy. We're thrilled.
Connecticut resident Mary Beth Hoffman is also thrilled.
Civil unions, they're not equal, and now this is equal.
She was diagnosed with cancer back in 2013 and wasn't sure she would be around for this day.
I'm really glad to be alive, to spend this day here with them on the steps of the Supreme Court.
However, some critics of the ruling say they worry about whether it will undermine the rights of people who oppose same-sex marriage for religious reasons.
It sort of strikes at the very heart of democracy and that freedom that we love to have our voices validated in the form of a vote. And it took away that freedom from Americans to decide the most pressing social issues for our time.
And back here live, you can see the group that is still gathered here outside of the steps of the Supreme Court. People speaking out still on both sides of this issue. And some saying that we spoke to today, this is a huge day to celebrate, an historical day. Others saying, though, this is one step and that there are many more to have equality for all. Reporting live, Brianne Carter, ABC 7 News.
Thank you, Brianne. The celebration spread far beyond Washington today. In New York City, hundreds flocked to the Stonewall Inn to celebrate. Just this week, the bar earned landmark status as one of the most important locations in gay rights history. The Stonewall Inn was the site of protests and riots against a police crackdown on gay clubs in 1969. We're told today's celebration has grown so large, New York police have shut down the street.
Well, not all the reactions that we've seen to the ruling today have been positive. Each Republican presidential candidate denounced the ruling. Some of them said it was a state's right to decide. Others, like Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, called for a constitutional amendment banning same-sex unions. Other groups, like the Family Research Council, denounced the court's legitimacy entirely. FRC President Tony Perkins wrote this: "No court can overturn natural law. Nature and nature's God, hailed by the signers of our Declaration of Independence as the very source of law, cannot be usurped by the edict of a court." We have more reaction from all sides on this, as well as the complete text of the ruling in our complete coverage right